So let's look at the back of this rack. There's the speaker panel, speaker panel connectors. There's the back of the crossover, equalizer, and the 4 amplifiers of 8 channels of amplification. These are all the wires I've got hooked over to the side. So right now, as you look at the equalizer, you see where I've got it labeled. Left is on the top, right is on the bottom. Crossover, left is on the top, right is on the bottom. Power buttons on the EQs, on the crossovers on the back. Power button for the EQs on the front. And again, I would turn those on and off manually. So these blue ones here are all the 4 channels on the left. These red ones here are all the 4 channels on the right. The input from your preamp will go right here. See the input there? Input left, input right. This is output left, output over here, right. Those two go as to the inputs on your crossover. Input left, input right. So those stay in place. This is all wired. These will not be here when it's shipped. You put your preamp into this spot right here. These will be unplugged. So there's your 8 channels of amplification going through an equalizer and a crossover. So I will tell you that all these are wrapped together, but they've got corresponding ends that go to the amplifier. See that? So all the rights are on this side here. All the lefts go on this side here. Blue, blue, blue. So left, 4 channels. Right, 4 channels. There's a fan speed you can adjust. I believe they're all on low. I guess if you were really pushing it, but you're going to blow your ears out and turn the fans up high if you want to. But the way I've got this wired, and we'll talk about this speaker panel in a minute. The way I got this wire, which I showed in my previous video, if you look at the right channel, you see this is high. This goes to the mid and tweet. That has a passive crossover in the high frequency section box. This is going to be the right mid bass. See that R, MB? This is going to be the LF on the right, and that's going to be the sub on the right. And I did the opposite on the way back. This is the high on the left, mid bass on the left, LF on the left, that's the 2 15-inch woofers, and that is the sub on the left. So you can do it how you want to, but that was to have less strain on each amp. So what you'll see when you've cranked it, you'll see that the peak meters on that bottom one down there on that one side will be going, because that's the sub, most power is being used, and then you'll see it up on this top one here on this top amp on the other side. And if you ever see the LFs, these two here going, you've really got it cranked. So the mid bass module with the 10-inch woofer and the high frequency section with the mid and the tweed, those are way overpowered in this system here. You'll never see those blinky lights move. So that's how it's wired. But let's talk about these speakers. Now, how do these outputs from the speakers work with this? Well, this is a custom speaker output panel I've made. All this is the left, like the top we've got it organized. This is for the left, so this is going to the left sub. Or this can go to the left sub if you're using Canon connectors, which is not part of this system because we're not using KP-600. We're using 682s, and those have spade or banana outputs. But the KP-600 has these Canon connectors, and that right there, as you can see, has 8 posts. 8 posts when these have 4 posts. You will not be using these. Those are parallel wired. That's one woofer on a sub. That's the second woofer on the sub. And those are parallel wired with these two here. So as you can see here, that's a positive and a negative, and that's a positive and a negative. So what it is I've got this going to 2 different sub drivers for one subwoofer, and then I've got these 2 outputs parallel wired. So if these are 8 ohm woofers, these little jumpers here going from one to the next, parallel wires, so that left sub output, which wires, and you can see it, but it comes behind this panel, and it's coming out right there, that one there, not this, but those 2 there, and then it's parallel wired to that, so that this one output is going to this sub over here, the left sub, and you just put it on the speaker panel, but it's already has 2 woofers wired parallel. If you ever wanted to drive an amp to have two channels, to drive each individual sub in a dual sub cabinet, you would need to take off that jumper and get another set of these wires and hook it right there, and it would be separate. So you take these little jumpers off, and this is the same way it is on the bottom. This is another sub on the right, and it's got a jumper, and then that white that you see back there is coming from back there. So you won't be using this. Just put a one sub output here that you're going to go to the input of that, and that's already got a jumper on it so that these two woofers are parallel. So that's 4 ohms. So one channel of amplification is running this right here. Now look at this. This is one speaker, positive, negative, another speaker, positive, negative, another speaker, positive, negative, another speaker, positive, negative. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look over here. This is wired with this. There's 8 posts on that Canon connector. There's 8 posts here. And I will tell you that post 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you look real close, it's got the numbers on there. Those 4 right there, which you don't need to memorize, they're going to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the LF section on the twin loaded 15-inch woofer cabinet, horn loaded. And I too, you should see, I've got it jumpered. So you won't ever touch this if you're going to use this Canon connector, which I'm providing. You won't ever touch that. But if you ever wanted to use this panel for another stereo system that did not have Canon connectors, you could use these. You could leave all that. See, there's wires that come in from here. That came from over here. Anyway, these come in here and they solder to the back of this. But this wire here, that one that you see there, is coming from the LF. It's on the left. That's the LF on the left. So that's right here. And if you were to follow that, it'd come all the way to right here. So this where these two 15-inch woofers are parallel wired, so you would have one output somewhere else if you didn't use that. But you don't need to fool with any of these, because that's the mid-bass module, which is that. These two right there goes to that, and then this is the tweeter section, the mid-range section, which has the passive. That's 1 amp output. There's no parallel wire in that. That's one driver, and that's one channel of amp going to the mid and the tweet. And that one there is going to these two here. Don't need to memorize it. Just plug the Canon connector in right there, and you're done. For example, this is the end. See that? You can't mess it up. This goes to this KP-600. You will plug that right into there. So that'll be your left KP-600s. And this will be your left subwoofer, which when I ship this is still going to be connected. I'm just going to throw it down here in the bottom. And then you're just going to hook the left side of your system to this, and this is going to that. Now, as I told you, this is carrying the two woofers for the LF, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if you look at this panel back here, the woofer section input's going in here. And it's got those 8 plugs. See? Those are the woofers. Those 4 in a row are the 1 woofer, 2 woofer down in the LF horn. Well, inside of here, this daisy chained back to here, and it shows you on this map how it's daisy chained out. Well, basically this is output to LF, so it went in there and just basically daisy chained it here. The mid-bass module and that tweeter mid, you see, those all went inside this cabinet. Boom, boom. But it came back out here, and I've got those woofer to daisy, and that's going to come like that connected. Unless we ship it a certain way, we'll just unplug that and unplug that. That short cable, though, you can't screw that up either, because that is just a 4-post. See it? So that's a 5-foot cable going here. This is a 25-foot. There's an 8-post Canon cable. And that's what's going to hook right there.